Welcome back to the special edition of In Focus. I'm your host, Karim Ahmed. Still here with me is LEONARD ZAX, the president of, let me get it straight, Hamilton Partnership for Paterson. When we were off camera, I was just making the comment that I have a strong sense that Alexander Hamilton, the son of NEVIS, if he was here today, would love NEVIS. He would love Nevisians. He would love our young people. He would have synergy with their drive, their enthusiasm, their willingness to get up and try things. And so I want to talk to Leonard about their national park that they're about to launch in April of this year, 2013. Because I believe, and this is my own personal belief, that we have 15 acres of land earmarked here on NEVIS for a national park. And what we should be doing is talking with Leonard. Talking and talking and talking and talking, and get our young people involved, get our schools involved, get our youths that are on the streets, talking on street corners together, or musicians, or actors, or dancers, everybody together, and see how we can bring, how we can replicate Paterson National Park right here on NEVIS on those 15 acres. And I'm hoping that while Leonard is here, he will go down and see the land, see that 15 acres, and see what is possible. So, Leonard, I've spilt the beans now. That's my dream. That's how I see this thing. But before we talk about that, tell us a little bit about the Paterson National Park. What's it like? What's there?
Well, today the Paterson National Park it consists of, like many startup businesses, a very small staff, a park superintendent, and one park ranger, a wonderful natural wonder, the Great Falls, yes, which is the reason why Hamilton founded the city, and the land and buildings around the falls that really represent every stage in the development that led to America becoming the most powerful economic industrial nation in the world. We have a hydropower system going back to the 1790s. We have ruins of the original Colt gun mill where the revolver was first produced. We have some of the first Colt revolvers on display in our museum. We have, continuing the notion that Hamilton had, that we had to produce what we need here, and we have to really think of industry as kind of the high tech of the day in Hamilton's time.
So it's
now the high tech of the day is based in the Silicon Valley, yes, of Northern California. And the companies are Apple and Google and Facebook. But the high tech of the day in Hamilton's time was industry. The United States had none. England had some. He felt that we needed to have some, and that the place he would start is in Paterson, and that it would produce what we need, including garments. It started with cotton manufacturing, but that would lead to producing a lot of other things. Paper goods. It would lead to producing the cotton sailcloth for all the ships in the American Navy, all manufactured in Paterson. It would lead to the first repeating revolvers, the Colt revolvers. It would lead to the first American-made locomotives. And of course I could go on and on.
So at the heart of this park then, it's about industry and commerce.
It's about industry and commerce, but it's not just looking backward. It's drawing some inspiration from the past to do what Hamilton always did, and that is to look forward.
When I think of a park, I think of fun things to do.
We're going to have some of those too.
You know, I mean, I want to go on those things that make your stomach go, you know, and scare you to death, and when you finish you go, wow, let me do it again. You know,
I think that we will have fun things that I hope won't be so violent.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the guns part.
But I do think that we will have a mix of visitor experiences, recognizing that different visitors have different desires. Some want to see a spectacular waterfall. Some want to go for a walk in the park. Some want to go canoeing in the river below the falls. We're not going to let them canoe over the falls. You actually have a picture of the top of the falls.
I don't know.
If you went in a canoe over there, down there in Paterson, it would be bad.
Daniel Day-Lewis is the first man to have won 3 Oscars.
Yes.
And he did that. He went over the waterfalls. It didn't do him any harm.
Yep. Well, some succeeded in Paterson, but would die later on trying elsewhere.
Okay. All right. So, you've got this park thing going on. How is it financed?
The national park system is funded by the American taxpayers, but we've also raised some private money to help this park go along more quickly. Parks take a long time. It's 30 acres and there's a lot of work to do, and yes, it is costly, but the land is all assembled. It's possible to visit now. Anyone from NEVIS who visits, call me in advance and we will give you a special tour.
Thank you.
Or we'll ask our national park ranger to give you a special tour. She'll be even better.
Why has the American government invested in this? I mean, what's the return for the government?
Well, this was, as everything else in Washington, D.C. is, a subject of some debate about whether we should be having any more national parks, given the budget scarcity in the economy.
Yeah, because you're about to go over that, what do you call it, the budget cliff, aren't you?
Fiscal cliff.
Fiscal cliff,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, you guys don't have any money.
Well, we'll see. The fact is that in the United States, in our most difficult times in history, leaders took the effort to set aside lands for the public forever. In our Civil War, Abraham Lincoln set aside some of the first lands for what would become the national park system. In the beginning of the 20th century, Teddy Roosevelt would set aside other lands. And in the depths of the Great Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt would expand efforts in our national parks, put people to work in our national parks, spend money building things in national parks to get people going, but also to get people outdoors, to get them connecting with both the history of our country and the natural environment, which is good for America.
Well, another son of the NEVIS soil, the Honourable Malcolm Gishard, who was our Deputy Premier. Unfortunately, he's deceased. But he had some vision in him, and he was the one who pushed and got this 15 acres of land earmarked for a national park here on NEVIS. So, you know, there must be some of Hamilton's blood flowing in him somewhere.
And I would suggest that, even though it sometimes seems like a tough struggle, that you should stay with it. In Paterson, the first proposal for a national park here at the Great Falls was in 1972. There were articles in the New York Times saying people want to have a national park in Paterson. It didn't happen in 1972. It didn't happen in 82 or 92. But by 2012, we had America's newest national park.
So that's what, a 50-year span?
It happened to be 50 years in that case.
Okay. So
you don't have to wait 50 years, but don't expect it to happen too soon.
So we here on NEVIS need to demonstrate some of that perseverance that Alexander Hamilton has portrayed in his life.
And not only in his life, but in the effort in Paterson. Okay. When the United States was going through its first financial crisis in 1792, Hamilton was getting the SUM going. But it was a tough time to start a corporation at a time that no one really knew how corporations would function really in the United States. And there were people in Paterson who wrote to him and they said, maybe we have to declare bankruptcy, it's not going to work out. He wrote back saying, perseverance in any plan is what is important. We have that letter in Paterson. And he would sign all of his letters. Here he is, he's the minister of the Treasury. He's the most important person in George Washington's cabinet. He's one of the founders of our republic. and he would sign his letters, "Your obedient servant, Alexander Hamilton." We have that letter there.
That says a lot about the man. So, what's brought you to our shores? Let me put it in local parlance. What do you want?
Well, I wanted to see you and Evelyn.
Thank you so much. So, Leonard, we'll keep persevering here in terms of our national parks, all right? But tell me, what's brought you to our shores?
Well, I wanted to see where Hamilton was born. I wanted to see how close he lived to the slave market. I wanted to see the land where sugar became the gold of the British economy here.
So you wanted to touch the soil that's created this man.
And I wanted to really get a sense of whether people on the island care about him, know about him, realize how his birth and early years on this island would contribute to very, very significant things that he would do later on in life.
So, in effect, the United States of America owe us a great debt.
Without question.
We're going to collect on that.
We're working on it too.
But we're going to persevere because, you know, I think Obama is likely to get a letter with an invoice attached. Right? That could be forthcoming. But all joking aside, having been here and having kind of, you know, looked around a bit and talked to a few people, what do you think? Do we know about him? Do we care about him? Are we at a level where we could move beyond initiating contact with you and your organization and obviously the Paterson experiment and become part of that ambitious drive towards the future?
Well, we are going to be producing educational materials about Hamilton, including some of his years on this island, that we will use to educate visitors to the Paterson National Park and school children in Paterson. We have a public school system in Paterson, a city of 150,000 people with 30,000 public school students. We want them all to learn about this history. We want them to learn about what makes their city special. And we want them to learn about this great man from this wonderful, wonderful island who saw an extraordinary opportunity for America at this site where he founded the city of Paterson and began something that would help make the United States the most powerful economic force the planet has ever known.
So, going back to the IOU that we hold it because we're not going to give it up. Given technological advances since Hamilton's day, how doable is it for our school children? And let's not take them all. Let's start bite-sized chunks. How doable is it for one of our secondary schools or two, because we've really only got two, to partner with an equivalent school in Paterson, so that, you know, we can maybe create some kind of intranet or a gateway where those children can be talking to one another about all kinds of things?
Well, I thought that was a wonderful idea. We talked about it a little bit last night. Right. I'm very, very hopeful. I've emailed some people in Paterson about it. We're going to think about what we can do, right, and give you some ideas about this in the course of the next couple of weeks. Okay. Certainly, given the Caribbean population of the city of Paterson, and given the increasing interest in Alexander Hamilton, and given, I think, the sense that kids in Paterson, like kids in NEVIS, must have, that we want an education that will make us global citizens. We want an education that will connect us, not just to the little town or village where we live or parish here, but rather to this global society that we are part of. I mean, Hamilton saw that a global society was important before it was fashionable to talk about a global economy.
Yes.
He thought anti-slavery advocacy was important when most people in the United States were pro-slavery. He thought that immigration was important when a lot of people were either anti-immigration or had grave doubts about it.
Yes.
So we have a number of different educational themes that we find do resonate with children in Paterson today.
And there are global issues, and
there are global
issues that we talk about, like poverty, entrepreneurialism. Those are things that no matter where you are, you can talk about and share and provide experiences to empower people.
So we see this national park as providing, yes, a park experience in a lot of different ways, but also an educational one. And the most important thing we're going to be involved in is creating educational programs that engage a new generation of youth in Paterson in the city's history, in their present, and in the future.
Okay. So how about also possibility of exchanges? I mean, we don't have a national park here for the capacity of having you, but how about having, a group of young people, when I say a group, 4, 6, that maybe come to Paterson and spend 2 weeks or something and work within the national park system there to learn about how that is, so we can get a transfer of knowledge from the United States of America, because remember, you owe us a transfer of knowledge here that would assist us in developing our national park. Is that something that's doable?
Let's explore that. I think that is one of the things that I would like to explore at this very, very early stage of our national park, where there's so many pressures to do this and do that, and we don't have the money, and we got to do. But I think that what you were suggesting is something that's really worthy of serious exploration. I'm committed to that, and that'll be one of the things that I'll get back to you on in 2 weeks. I do want to say one other thing, and that is, I think about it when I see the monkeys here and the bananas. There's something about low-hanging fruit. That there's some things that you can get at more easily than others. There are many things that we could try to do over a period of time with educators and students in NEVIS that we cannot do right now. There's some things that I think we could do because they're not that costly and they're not that hard, and they could be very, very valuable. So let's get started. Let's begin with the low-hanging fruit, just as the monkeys may choose. And let's see if we can start with those that could allow us to show visible progress during the course of the coming year.
Thank you so much for that. But before we let you go, tell me this. What do you think of our NEVIS?
I love NEVIS. I think NEVIS is a magical island. I think the people are wonderful. I think the landscape is really beautiful. I think the food is excellent. I think the beaches are so enticing, and I don't have any time to go to them on this trip. So the one thing I'm sure is that I do have to come back, and I will be back.
Leonard Zax, thank you very much for being on In Focus.
Well, you're a gracious host.
Thank you so much. You've been watching a special edition of In Focus. See you next time.